Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, dudes? Am I echoing?
And dudettes.
Do you hear an echo?
I don't.
In the chat, let me know if you hear an echo.
Echo, echo, echo.
Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. His name is DKM, and we're here to talk to you about the National Wrestling Alliance, specifically the results and happenings of NWA USA and NWA POWERRR. How are you, sir?
Well, I hope you're all happy to have me here tonight because, quite frankly, I forgot what day it was, and my son and I were looking at movies.
What movies were you going to go see?
One of them we were looking at was North or Northman or whatever it's called.
The Northman.
Yeah, Northman. Type of weird stuff we're into.
You see the Multiverse of Madness yet?
I have not, probably this weekend. But I don't know if I want to see a Multiverse of Madness because I feel like I see that every time I watch the NWA, so it may just be repetitive.
Ooh. DK's got some jokes already. This is going to mess me up all night, but I've got an echo in my head, so...
Yeah, well, you notice how we're not going to touch that one.
Hey, now. It never hurts to be kind, DK. It never hurts to be kind.
Well, I found it painful before.
Oh.
She said, does this make me look fat? I said, yes. Which was honest, and honest is a form of kindness.
Yes. Yes, it is. So I was supposed to go to Las Vegas tomorrow. In fact, had a hotel booked. Was going to go see my favorite band, Pearl Jam. And thanks to COVID, So
we'll teach you to go to Vegas without me anyway.
Yeah, well, you only want to go to see the strippers. I only want to go to see gambling.
I don't want to see the strippers. I want to see all the weirdos on the strip.
Oh, I misunderstood when you said you wanted to be on the strip. My mistake. I see some of our pals are already here in the chat. Tim with NWA Gold. And guys, before I get too much into my spiel here, 987 of you wonderful, good-looking, attractive human beings have subscribed to this YouTube channel. And number one, we're extremely grateful. But number two, we are so close, 13 subscribers away from our pal Tim at NWA Gold giving away a replica of the 10 pounds of gold or the Crown Royal Championship, the same belt that they basically have used now for the junior heavyweight title. Our pal Timmy up in Canada is willing to ship that belt around the world to one of our lucky subscribers. So have your cousins sign up, your kids sign up, your wife sign up, make a new account to sign up because our pal Timmy's giving away a title. Does that come off as desperate?
Yes, but I was okay with it.
But as that being said, I see Doty's in the house, Dave Scooby's in the house, Willie Bowen's in the house. So we do appreciate you one and all being here, and we'll be talking about the NWA shows momentarily.
We will.
Yeah.
Is there anything going on in the wrestling world today?
Oh man, there's lots of things. What do you want to talk about? The wrestling promotion starting in the UK. I think it's called Wrestling Entertainment Sports or something like that. It's basically the former Authors of Pain, now being called the Lords of Pain, starting a wrestling promotion in the UK. Our very own Dirty Dango will be there. Michael Bennett will be there. And it seems kind of interesting.
People want to go wrestle for him.
What's that now?
I've heard a lot of people want to go wrestle for him.
Hey man, they're bringing CJ Perry, I think that's her name, the former Lana, and what's her name? You know, the hole. Oh my hole.
Oh, the former Nia Jax.
Yes, thank you.
It scares me that that's how you remember her, Jay.
Yes, but you got it. You got it, sir.
It scares me that I got it, but that probably has more to do with listening to Jim Cornette than actually the event, since I never saw it.
Oh no, my hole. So that's going on. The WWE recently had two main event champions walk out of its program. What do you think about that?
I have very mixed feelings about that because I can see each side of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is I don't know that any of them are as top level as you would need to be to successfully do that. And this is actually sort of the second time that Sasha Banks did this. And it's always been over the tag team titles. The women's tag team titles, apparently every time they talk her into holding it, with the exception of when she held it with Bayley, they tell her that it's going to be big and important and they're going to do something and blah, blah, blah. And of course, every time they don't, because WWE and they don't really give a shit and they just create the titles for the sake of it. Hey, wait a minute. And
sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah, and so, you know, after they lost him to the Iconics, later the Inspiration, later the Retired Ladies, you know, she like took her ball and went home for a few months, if I remember correctly. And so it's almost one of those, yeah, well, what the hell were you expecting, stupid? You know, when an organization shows you what it is, believe them. There's an old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You know, well, you got fooled twice. That's your fault. And supposedly Naomi is under contract negotiations or contracts coming up somewhere in the next 5 days to 6 months to a year and a half. I don't know. And I don't know that this helps you any. Because again, I don't know that you're a big enough property that they care if you come or go. And it's almost one of those, this isn't the case like it used to be where you can go, just go, oh, well, they'll go to AEW. AEW's women division sucks. And you go there, you might be, you know, they've created a term. You could be Ruby Soho'd. Because everybody was so excited about her going, and she's rarely seen. She loses all her major matches, and she's not anywhere near a contentionship. She's actually in a slightly worse spot than she was in WWE, where you rarely saw her, and she lost a lot. And, and
Yeah.
so I mean, I don't know. It's good to stand up for yourself, but I think this is one of those situations where you should have known better. You shouldn't have expected any more than you were getting. And so I don't know that I have the sympathy that I would for others.
And I mean, you said something that was pretty significant, that the women's division in AEW, not only is it kind of packed already, but like, where would a Sasha Banks fit in there? Sasha Banks might fit in there very easily, but Naomi, not so much. She doesn't have the same skill set that Sasha Banks has. And not only that, but Sasha Banks, I mean, she's already had overtures into Hollywood. She was in The Mandalorian, for crying out loud. I feel like if she really gets tired of it, she'll just take her ball and go home. Where, Naomi doesn't have those connections. She hasn't had that opportunity in the spotlight to be able to have that ability to just walk away.
The only thing that Naomi has is that she's married to an Uso. But if I understand correctly, it's the Uso that tends to have driving issues. And, or having issues when he drives, more accurately.
It's more like issues with the bottle.
Yeah, well, I was trying not to say that he's gotten a lot of DUIs, but hey.
Just say it.
He drives drunk.
Yes.
And that's a bad, bad, bad thing. And so,
we don't recommend that on this show. We don't recommend it on this show.
No, we're highly against it. And, holy cow, sorry. Got a message from somebody. And, if she goes, she'll go to Impact, where they're probably, I think they could probably use her somewhat decently, but don't make me lie.
It's interesting. We're in a weird time and place in pro wrestling where there's a legitimate all women's wrestling promotion that just started filming, and you would think every single female that left the WWE would make complete sense for them, including Nia Jax, including Lana, including Naomi, including Sasha Banks. Like, you would think that would be a perfect fit for them, but that's not even the case.
Depends on what's more important to them, what their paycheck says, or if they get to wrestle.
Yeah.
The ones who want to wrestle will. The ones who want a paycheck, and look, this is men wrestling too. There's a reason we haven't seen Wyndham Rotundo, the former Bray Wyatt, the former whatever he was when he wore that idiotic mask. And, the reason is he doesn't really want to wrestle. he's been doing other things, and he's either content or whatever. And he's somebody who wants to have complete control over him and whatever character he develops. And I just don't know that. That is what anybody would be willing to give him.
Well, I mean, like, you would think a place like Impact would love to have a guy like Bray Wyatt on the roster, but he can't be Bray Wyatt in Impact. He can't be that guy. You know, WWE has a huge budget for stuff like that. Impact doesn't.
No, and look, even if you change your mask and you go from, the Fiend to the Boogeyman, or I guess the Boogeyman's already been used, so to, the Devil or the Demon or a Duck, whatever you go to. Damn right, paychecks matter, Chris.
Brayhausen.
Right, whatever you do, no one's going to give him the creative control that he's going to want.
No.
And look, everybody's going to get beat, and they're going to have to lose. Maybe not a lot, but at some point, you got to do things, and you can't do that with these stupid magical characters that don't belong in wrestling. They belong in a horror film. And so, I don't know. It's just, my point's the same, is that a lot of people don't do wrestling because they love wrestling. A lot of people do wrestling because they want to make money, and all the power to them. And some have shown that they can make as much money as they were making at WWE, but those were the mid-carders. They weren't the top stars. And, Sasha Banks, at least, top star. Now, she could go to Hollywood. She's been in the Mandalorian. Would she be a breakout star? I don't know. She could probably always get parts here and there, but I don't know. She's not going to be The Rock. She's not going to. I don't think she's going to be The Rock. And this is going to be sexist, but there's not very many women out there that can do that. And Hollywood is ageist when it comes to women, just like wrestling is ageist when it comes to women. And, she's not as young as she used to be. She's not going to be The Rock. She probably won't even make it to John Cena, but she could probably make a living out of it.
For sure.
And unlike some others who have tried and failed. And, we forget that there are a lot more wrestlers that went to Hollywood and failed than succeeded.
Well, I think there's only been like 4 or 5 of them that have succeeded. And that's going back to even like Hulk Hogan, Rowdy Piper made a semi-career out of it. Terry Funk did more than 1 or 2 movies. In terms of truly successful, you're right. Rock, Cena, to a lesser extent. Trying to think.
Cena's still in the process of kind of taking off, but you don't know how long things are going to last.
This is true.
If any of you have ever watched, I think it's called The IT Crowd, an English TV show.
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Well, it's very dated by now, but some of it's still kind of funny. But both of the guys that were in the IT department on that, at one point, kind of had some career stuff where they were in like 2 or 3 movies, and they were going to be like the next big thing, and then you never saw them again. And they're both still acting. But, just like wrestling, just like everything else, you can only have so many top people.
This is true.
And, Terry Funk, he acted. He still wrestled at the same time. In fact, he wrestled probably longer than he acted.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's for sure.
you know, he was a typecast character where he, you know, go watch him in Roadhouse, and that's basically who he plays in any movies in.
That's who he is.
That's who he is. He played Terry Funk. In every movie, he played Terry Funk.
Yeah. Well, let's get more into what's going on in the NWA, because obviously that's where our bread and
Batista,
butter
that's
is.
the other one. Thank
What's that, man?
you, James H. Jackson Jr., from here on known as Junior.
No, James. We don't have any James.
I said James H. Jackson Jr.
You said now known as Junior. I said no. We'll
From
call him
here on,
James.
I'll call him Junior. Because I call, unlike you who always calls him James, I always pick a different part of his name to use.
Fair enough.
I'm weird that way. Haven't you figured that out yet?
Well, you're weird a lot of ways, and let's be honest. I mean, we
Haven't you
all
figured
are.
that out yet?
That's why we're all here, that community of weirdos.
Sure.
A couple matches have been added to Alwayz Ready, and I don't think we talked about them last week, so we'll bring them up this week. And the first match is everyone's much anticipation of the return of, you know, Ricky Morton in a tag team pay-per-view match. She'll be teaming with this boy, Kerry Morton, and they'll be taking on the Fixers with AJ Cazana and a mystery partner. Any thoughts of who the mystery partner will be?
Absolutely none.
Aaron
And
Stevens.
that would at least be somebody interesting. Not that we need Aaron Stevens in any more weird tag team. My fear whenever you do something like that is there's almost no way to live up to the hype.
Yeah.
So unless it's basically somebody on the roster who would just be surprising to be there, Robert Gibson.
That would be interesting, because you have the whole dynamic of.
Not that I want it to be Robert Gibson, but if it were Robert Gibson, that would at least be interesting.
Yeah.
And unlike having, Ricky Morton in there, which is not interesting. So hopefully Kerry will turn on Dad and Ricky will go into retirement. But I guess since they're still wrestling across the country in different promotions, that probably won't happen.
Well, I mean, Ricky said he's in his prime, so I don't know what you're talking about. That guy is never going to stop.
By prime, he means kind of like aged, primed hamburger meat.
So I was supposed to go to Vegas tomorrow night. The plan was to go to one of those nice little fancy steakhouses and get one of those, 40-day-old age steaks. And to me, that's the equivalent of a Ricky Morton, with the exception is that steak would taste really good. Dodie brings up AJ's mystery partner. Is it Ric Flair? God, I hope not. Have you seen the sentiment change on Ric Flair coming back to the ring? At first, there was a lot of excitement, then a lot of concern, and now a lot of just, I don't care. Where are you at on Ric Flair returning to the ring?
Well, he shouldn't.
Of course he shouldn't.
I think in a private conversation that we had with Jaden, this is like when they're talking about maybe him and Rick Steamboat.
But Steamboat's not in.
Yeah, I know, but that was some early talk.
Yeah.
And my mind disappeared from me. Okay. Yeah, we were talking about the Ric Flair and Steamboat and if made possibility of a match all these years later with them. I said it would be a terrible, terrible thing if it happened. I go, unfortunately, they could probably, it would probably still be better than, 80-75% of the crap that's out there that masquerades as wrestling nowadays.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, those are the sad things. It's kind of like when when I criticize Jerry Lawler for still wrestling, and people go, he can still go. I go, he's better than, 90% of the independent people out there, blah, blah, blah. I go, you're not saying anything good. You're telling me that 90% of independent wrestlers out there are worse than a 71-year-old man who basically only stands there, throws a punch, gets beaten up a little bit, throws another punch, drops this thing, and throws a fireball.
Sounds like the Honky Tonk Man.
Well, Honky Tonk Man was doing that when he wrestled. And I wasn't a Honky Tonk Man fan. Not at all. It killed me that he held the Intercontinental title for as long as he did. It was the only time I was a big fan of the Ultimate Warrior. And oh God, I hated him. But taking that off, no, Ric Flair should not wrestle again. Anybody who promotes it should be shunned by the wrestling thing. Anybody who goes and watches it should be put in front of a firing squad. Don't give me any crap. The guy's too old. He's too unhealthy. And if he has a heart attack in the ring, all those people who would go see it or say, oh, it's great, or, oh, I want, it's like,
By the way, our buddy Jeremiah Plunkett just said, punch, strap, punch, fireball equals wrestling goals.
I just read that as you were saying it. It's like, Mr. Plunkett, I give you props. And
we haven't gotten to the review yet, but I was really impressed with our pal Jeremiah Plunkett in that Team War.
Did he wrestle?
He was throwing some haymakers in there.
I guess we'll talk about it when we talk about that match.
We'll get there. Again, who's going to be AJ Cazana's partner? That was the original question.
And the answer is hopefully somebody that matters.
All right, I'll go with that. If you guys have an idea, leave a comment in the live chat. We'll get to them as we're going through the show. I've got a different setup tonight, so if I look a little bit different or if I sound a little bit different, apologize in advance, trying something out. And so far, I do not like it. But nevertheless, we will prevail. So then also looking at Alwayz Ready, the other match that we have, some Superstar coming to the NWA. This is kind of a big matchup with Talia Valkyrie coming to the NWA to take on Natalia Markova with my favorite, Taryn Terrell. What are your thoughts on this one, DK?
I think that could be a good match. I like Markova. I like Taryn Terrell.
Love Taryn Terrell.
Maybe I like what Taryn Terrell wears more than actually Taryn Terrell, but anyway. Excuse me. Okay, I'm feeling much better now. Anyway, seriously, Markova, Markova can wrestle. Taya can wrestle. They both, have been around. They're both nice, strong ladies. Be a female hospite, I think. And is that a Hosset? A Hosset,
yeah.
And so I'm kind of looking forward to it. So yeah.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say that's that could be a good match.
When I look at this matchup, I immediately think, well, that's going to steal the show. That's going to be a match of the night right there. We know that at least on the surface, it kind of feels like we might be getting somewhere, someplace, a Talia Valkyrie versus Camille match, whether it be XPW where they had that match that ended in a no contest. but a part of the XPW Women's Tournament that they're putting on. I know that they're on opposite sides of that tournament, but we can see Camille and Taya end up wrestling there. And of course, let's not forget Taya Valkyrie is a bit of a belt collector as well. So having her show up in the NWA, I'm sure she has intentions of heading towards that women's title. And it adds to an already pretty competitive women's division. We saw this week on Power that Mickie James and Natalia Markova had a hell of a match. And I feel like we're going to see something very similar here, too. So those are some of the additions to.
I'm not going to say what Lou said there. I don't know what Lou said would do, but I'm not going to say that.
James says that he hopes that they signed her up for the TV tapings after, so that the people that we get a full season of Taya. And I think these are all nice. I think that would be a very smart business decision. As Frankie Monet, I know that Taya Valkyrie was very dissatisfied with her time in the WWE, but before that, I mean, she was really commanding audiences in Impact and AAA, and being in the NWA could certainly NWA could benefit from having another strong female on the roster.
Very much so.
So, did I have a stroke? Did I miss the announcement of the stipulation between Nick Aldis and Matt Cardona for Alwayz Ready? Did I miss that?
If you did, I did too, because I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I thought they were going to announce it tonight, Tuesday night on Power. But after watching Power, I don't recall hearing that match stipulation.
Now, it could have been because I dozed off during Cardona's part, but.
Well, I watched I watched the show. I don't recall them saying what the matchup was going to be. Real quick, I see Doty's comment. Welcome to Billy's NWA, James. Believe me, the women's are always more interesting than the men's from the very first day of Power. And James replied with, I wish the NWA had an all-women's show as the second show instead of USA. I think that might have been a better direction for them to go, but c'est la vie, that's not what happened.
I guess they could still do an all-women's show at some point if they chose to invest in that.
Well, you saw Billy Corgan eyeballing the all-seeing eye of CBS today on Twitter. That was the photo making the round. So maybe that's what's happening. I do believe that the CW is the one that's working with Women of Wrestling. So maybe CBS has room for pro wrestling as well.
That would be interesting.
Excuse me. So we don't need to spend any time on Alwayz Ready, or at least any more time, because we kind of already talked about it. And until we go to a full pay-per-view pre-show, we'll just leave it as that. We'll talk about NWA USA. We'll talk about NWA Power. First, what'd you think about USA, DK? I mean, I thought it was a pretty good show, minus a few segments, but what did you think of it?
There was one part I really enjoyed. The rest of it was mostly okay. And there was one part I could have done without.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same way. Dave Scooby says it's either going to be a death match or a cage match. And I guess make it an anything goes match, no DQ, loser leaves the NWA. I'd be all right.
A death match in a cage.
There you go.
Why just have one? Let's have two.
Matthew Underwood says Power to Paramount. I mean, that wouldn't be the worst idea. Chris Drummond says CW is up for sale. Pluto is realistic for the NWA. Yeah, Pluto is. but I don't know how much money there's to be made to be on Pluto, and that's the thing. If you're gonna put your content, take it off of YouTube, which is generating revenue. If you're gonna take your content off of Fight, which is also generating revenue, you need to be able to match that revenue with wherever you go. And if it's Pluto, I know it's readily available, but there's not everyone in the world is streaming Pluto. Not everyone has that app on their phone or on their smart TV, and not a lot of people are familiar with it. What'd you say, DK?
I don't even really know what it is.
Yeah, it's like a streaming television network. You can kind of go on, and it's like Pluto would be like your old cable system in the 80s, right? You could stream through and they have channels that you can go watch, but a lot of it's just kind of like old content or not very interesting content. But I mean, anything that they do, again, they have to take a step forward, not backwards. So if they are going to go to Pluto, which I don't think is realistic at this point, they're taking a step backwards. And I heard, or I read today on the one of the Facebook groups I belong to about the NWA, a guy who was in his mid-50s. I don't know why he thought that was so old, but he was in his mid-50s, and he says, "Hey guys, I barely know how to work Facebook. How do I find the NWA to watch?" And a lot of people were helpful telling him how to get to YouTube to check it out. I imagine he's not the only person who's wondering how they could watch NWA currently.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different world. It's not necessarily a better world. And you can gain people by being, on the internet that you might normally not be able to get, but you lose people too. I really don't know. I mean, Impact, I haven't seen Impact ratings recently, but last time we did, they were around 100,000 or less. And
all the talk is it's the best that show's been in a very long time.
Yeah, and I watched an episode actually. The episode after the pay-per-view where Josh Alexander regained the title. And it wasn't bad. I didn't love it. I didn't think it had the greatest wrestling that there was, but it was certainly more solid than anything I had seen from watching Impact, TNA, forever, basically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was solid. It wasn't enough to get me to go, oh, I'll record the show every week and, go through it. I mean, heck, the only reason I went through Raw was to find all the comments about, Sasha and her partner. And there's an unhappy dog out my back window. And I don't know. We're in a different, complicated world, and I don't know what good answers are. And if you're not going to be, I don't see CBS putting wrestling on CBS, so I don't know who owns them or who all they own or anything. I don't honestly keep up that much in the entertainment world unless it affects me personally. So I suppose there are options out there, but we'll see. I mean, they showed Billy with the AAA guy in one picture, and what's her name? Valkyrie holds the AAA women's title.
And pretty importantly to mention, too, is that Natalia Markova is heading to AAA soon, too.
So, if this was turned into a title match, that could really be interesting, but I just don't know. That's part of the problem also when you're working in lots of different promotions with titles that aren't your titles is you know, what do you do? What happens? You know, and Deonna Purrazzo at least lost her Impact title in Impact and lost her
Ring of Honor.
AAA title in Impact, but then she had to lose her ROH title in AEW, and I've already complained about the horrible job they did of presenting that.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I will never be the big everybody work together supporter, and I'll never be the big, oh well, you know, it gets you the exposure that you need. It work together only works if you're all kind of there with the same goal and same thing. You know, everybody basically said the Impact AEW worked together, ended horribly for Impact.
Yeah.
So go figure it out. I don't know. So what happened on NWA USA?
Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate you asking that. The show kicked off with Mae Valentine in the back with Genocide. Jenna is pissed, and her being out of the title picture because she lost that match, but she wasn't pinned. Remember, it was Chelsea Green who took the loss on that. So she was unhappy because she wasn't beaten. Killing King beat Chelsea Green to get that number one contender shot. So she has asked the NWA to bring in some stiffer competition as she works her way back up the top. And they reference her opponent later on the show as MJ Jenkins. Now, before the match, I didn't know a whole lot about Miss MJ Jenkins. I'm wondering, did you know anything about Miss Jenkins before the show?
The only thing when I first saw her, I said, she kind of reminds me of somebody who was in the ROH tournament or something like that, but I can't even say it's her. That was literally my only thought. When she reminds me of someone who was in the ROH tournament. I don't even know if it was her.
So at least via cage match, it doesn't show that she had any matches with Ring of Honor. However,
it probably wasn't. I'm just saying. that was my thought.
However, she did spend a lot of time in WWE development. In fact, she was a part of the NXT roster from 2018 till 2020 when she was eventually cut. She was part of the Mae Young Classic where she was defeated by Rhea Ripley in the first round. And she had a dark match at one of the other Mae Young Classics. But she was in the same group with ladies, like I said, Rhea Ripley, Lacey Evans, Bianca Belair, Dakota Kai, Deonna Purrazzo, Io Shirai, sorry if I don't say that right, Tay Conti, Marina Sharif. I'm just looking at some more of the names that were, in that time. Of course, Chelsea Green, Rachel Evers, and Santana Garrett. So, yeah, I mean, she was surrounded by a lot of good talent. She never really appeared on TV. She was mostly on the house show circuit or dark matches, so she never really was featured regularly on the program. And she had formerly teamed with Kenzie Page on an episode of AEW Dynamite. So she's been around, and she was very impressive. We'll talk more about her match momentarily, but I always like to give that insight into these talents who some people might not know based on just seeing her in the ring. So next up, we have the group. We have Joe Galley at the booth with Medusa and Velvet Sky. And did anyone notice that Joe Galley called this a very special episode of Power? Just me? All right.
See, if I had noticed, it would mean I'd listened to him.
Yeah, fair enough. The first
let's be honest. Let's be honest. They have trained us to tune out the announcers.
Yes, basically. The first matchup of the night was Kerry Morton. I say night, but I guess we're talking Saturday morning. First match was Kerry Morton versus Michael Bennett. Kerry Morton is very much the petulant child in this match. Him and Mike Bennett go back and forth chopping, and you see when Morton gets frustrated, he kind of just backs away and sits in the corner. And I'm telling you, this guy's going to make an excellent heel when the time comes. I feel he's literally at the doorstep of turning heel. The match is pretty fun. Of course, it was a Mike Bennett warm-up match. Bennett wins with a brainbuster, followed up with a roaring forearm, which I thought was pretty cool. Morton got in some decent offense, but I'm glad he lost. What'd you think of the match?
He needed to lose.
What's that?
I said he needed to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, the match was better than I expected. I don't want to, shit on it. It was pretty good. Morton looked decent out there. Bennett, again, I talk about this. That's what you need. You need a veteran guy there working with a younger guy. Get him the experience he needs to show him how to do things that need to, and how they're done in the ring. So it was a good little opening match. I wouldn't have any problem, seeing this at the beginning of any card anywhere.
Do you think Mike Bennett realistically should hold a singles title in the NWA?
Television.
That's my problem with Tyrus having that title is it just doesn't get defended enough. That title, literally should be cycling through some of these top guys that come in. Bennett, Taven.
Hey, we'll talk about Tyrus on Power because we found the perfect job for him now. So.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And,
okay.
And, but, yeah, I mean, national title, maybe. Junior title, sure. I mean, I'd put the junior title on him, no problem. He might not want the junior title, I don't know. But, well, I mean, seriously, he wants to be considered. He's challenged several times or a couple times at least, for the NWA title, and he's faced Nick Aldis a couple times and everything. But I would hope he would consider a run as the junior heavyweight champion. I think he would fit well in that. I think he'd make a good TV champion. I'm not quite sure he's who I put the national title on. And let me know you're still alive. Say something, and it might just be me now, people. Congratulations. Welcome to a view from a DKM, where we are talking about NWA USA and Mike Bennett versus, what's his face, Kerry Morton. And it was okay, and we were talking about what titles we put on Bennett. And so I don't know, what titles would you guys put on Bennett? That's what I thought. So, and then something happened where Jay magically reappeared, finally, after abandoning me and not sending me any messages.
I sent a message in the chat.
Doesn't show up.
Oh. Yeah, sorry, I pushed the wrong button and I kicked myself out. Hey, you remember that guy
what makes you think I was going to get a tap from you?
Remember Kikuchi?
No.
He said TV title.
Tag. Well, yeah, but it was asked as a singles title.
James says Bennett to me is hungry and would defend, and Bennett travels the Indies, so he's someone you'd want carrying a belt everywhere he goes. I honestly think that TV title would be a perfect solution in that, I'm not saying that Taven and Bennett would go back and forth over the title, but a guy like Bennett or Taven would be perfect for that TV title. Come in, win it, spend some time with it, let it go. Harry Smith is another guy that I think should have that belt. And I'm not saying you hot shot it to just whatever flavor the week is. But if Mims wins the title at the pay-per-view, maybe have Clearwater come in and take that title off of him, or maybe have Taven come
Probably
and
not
take
going to
that
happen anytime soon with Clearwater.
Oh, wow. I'm never say never. I don't
I
know.
said soon.
Well, and if you guys didn't know, Jordan Clearwater on Tuesday night became the United Wrestling Network World Champion. And a lot of people are speculating that maybe his time in the NWA is fleeting. And I'm here to tell you that I don't think that this is going to be a long-term run for Jordan Clearwater with that United Wrestling Network title.
Let's take a quick pause. Because I actually want to talk about that, since we do also cover United Wrestling Network. And so the short of it is Dickerson was defending his title against Willie Mack, which I believe was only his second title defense.
Yeah.
And he managed to retain the title. And Clearwater cashed in his Money in the Bank. Oh, excuse me, that's copyrighted by WWE.
Red Carpet Rumble.
He cashed in his Red Carpet Rumble title shot opportunity. Gimmick I hate more and more and more and more and more every time it's used. And I can't complain about it in United Wrestling Network, because they booked Clearwater pretty strong. Now, he only had a short reign as Heritage Champion, but they've still always kind of booked him as a strong person, strong character, a top guy who, maybe young, but kind of top thing. Basically the exact opposite of how he's booked in NWA, where he's a comedy character. And, he's young, he's having fun, he doesn't mind, fine. But this is my thing that I get to, which is if you're Dave Marquez, I mean, let's remember, not like Marquez and Billy Corgan are, sending each other Christmas cards or Hanukkah cards or birthday cards or whatever. They're not currently, the best of buddies. And so, my question is, if you're Dave Marquez and you're putting the title on Jordan Clearwater, do you want him showing up on an NWA show where he's portrayed as a goof and where he tends to lose? And I mean, because let's be honest, we had Dickerson recently beat Cardona on the show. When the first thing you do if you're Billy is put Clearwater in a match with Cardona and have Cardona kick his ass. So, I mean, I would. I mean, I honestly would.
It's this weird dichotomy, right? Because I agree with you. If I would not have put my title on a guy who is being showcased in another wrestling promotion that takes, up until recently takes priority over your promotion. Remember, Jordan Clearwater wrestles New Japan Strong. Jordan Clearwater's in NWA predominantly and heavily featured in the NWA. And until recently, hadn't even been in the United Wrestling Network for a couple of months. So it's hard to say, like, what the best route is for this. I know they needed to get the belt off of Chris Dickinson. I think they went with Clearwater as opposed to Willie Mack because they wanted to swerve the audience. I think Clearwater could be a great world champion for them, but I just don't know that this is a long-term thing for him or the United Wrestling Network.
And I would say it's probably not, which is sad in a different way then, because if you're United Wrestling Network, because basically your first champion was inactive for 6 months after he won the title, only defended it once, or once, really. Won't get real deep into it, but he's been, Me Too'd, or whatever the terminology is. Had some accusations made against him. So it was like, okay, we got to get the title off of him. But then you get to the point where by putting on Jordan Clearwater, you're kayfabing yourself. I don't know the constant need to swerve the fans. You know, NWA did that and screwed Damian Wayne.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta. I mean, they made it obvious who was going to win the thing. Everybody knew who was going to be. Everybody was happy with who it was going to be. And then a certain someone said, "Oh no, we need controversy. We can't go with this." And no, it wasn't Bruce Tharp. I've seen the text.
No.
And so, you know, I know who was responsible for it. I know what happened. And it's just one of those, you know, don't kayfabe yourself. Don't be stupid. If there was somebody better to put the title on, somebody who could have actually taken that title, defended on a real regular basis and around, I don't know that you want to put the title on someone if you're planning on taking the title off of them in, let's say, the next 3 months.
Well, and that's just it, right? Like, I don't think the game plan initially was to take the belt off of Dickinson, and I think that they were planning on have a long run with him, and maybe Willie Mack didn't have the availability that they needed, and maybe the guy that they want to put the belt on wasn't available for that show, but they had to get the belt off. I mean, there's a number of different things that could have happened, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Clearwater is that guy because he's been on that show for such a long time. I don't know. I certainly don't have the answers, and I'm not paid to, but I just think it's an interesting predicament to be in.
Yeah, and then the next question is, I don't know enough, really. I haven't read enough. And so, did they absolutely have to take the title off of him? I mean, is it pretty well believed, the accusations? Or is it one of those? Well, they were made, so we better do something.
I don't think this was a knee-jerk reaction. Those accusations came out before Davey Richards. I mean, if they were going to do the knee-jerk reaction, they could have done it then. And I don't want to comment too much further in this because I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, and I'm just asking your opinion as to do you think it was necessary?
I think that it's better to take it off of them when they can than when they were forced to.
I'll accept that because I mean I haven't really kept up with it.
I'm going to say this: it just doesn't look. He definitely doesn't look good, and if the accusations are correct, it's a very, very bad thing.
You know, hey, there are idiots that still try to book Alberto El Patron. And again, people who do that should be kicked out of the wrestling business forever.
Yeah.
And all right, so that was my pause statement. You know,
like freaking Kikuchi.
Oh, I missed it. That was Davey Richards. Well, he woke up. No, Davey Richards was the title defense beforehand.
Oh, what I think is Kikuchi was talking about, joking that with Jordan Clearwater, we're going to find out later that he beats baby seals and kicks puppies, which I hope he's joking, and I really think that's just a joke. But
I think the puppy
Jason,
part is, I don't know about the seals.
Jason Stallman brings up kind of what I did read Dickinson write on Twitter is that he did not want to drag the companies he works with into the ground during this. And that's the thing too. You have to be respectful, mindful of what's going on and what kind of reaction this is going to bring to the places you work. And if it's going to cause a negative reaction, then it's best to just kind of step away until your situation gets resolved. And then, look, if he's vindicated and none of this is true, then by all means he should be back in the business and with no problem. But best to let this get resolved before it gets too much out in the open.
Yeah, I mean, but just as we've learned, once these things are made, if you give up your position, you better be prepared never to get it back.
That happens too.
I was thinking of Lagana.
Yeah.
Because I think when Lagana left, he had a very definite vision that he'd clear his name and he'd be back in 6 months. And
yeah.
That didn't happen.
All right, so let's get off of that subject because again, neither one of us know specifics and we're just speculating, and I don't really want to speculate on that. Let's get back to USA. We had a good match with Kerry Morton and Mike Bennett. Perfectly serviceable opening match. Then we get 60 seconds with Gags the Gimp, and that's 1 minute of my life and yours that you'll never get back.
Oh, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
I know. Because it's like the whole gimmick is he doesn't talk, so I wasn't expecting him to be there talking.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, again, we talked about this last week. If my kids were walking into the room, I'd probably change the channel. I get why they do it because they're trying to be silly, tongue-in-cheek, but it's like, you're such a walking contradiction, NWA. You tell me you're a family show, but then we learn more about the Gags the Gimp on both episodes of USA and Power, which isn't very family-friendly. And then we get, it's a serious wrestling show, but then you have these over-the-top, goofy-ass characters that don't make it feel very serious or, the wrestling that we grew up with. It is more of a, Vince Russo, crash and burn style television, and I'm not really here for it. So, with that being said, let's get to the next match, which is MJ Jenkins versus Genocide. Now, this was a solid match. Again, as I was talking about earlier, MJ Jenkins was trained originally by Devon Dudley and Johnny Rodz. She spent 2 years at NXT from 2018 to 2020. She wasn't really on the NXT program as much, but at the live events and whatnot. And I felt like this match was a lot of fun. Very few women can match Power with Genocide. MJ is one of them. She had the size, she had the strength, she had the speed, she had the sass. She was fun to watch, and I hope she stays a regular for the NWA. The match went very back and forth. Genocide got the victory with her Judgment Day, and immediately following that match, Markova, the Crush is her nickname, I guess, comes out and attacks Genocide with a chair, reminding everybody that NWA USA is the Markova program.
Yeah, I liked the match.
Same.
I really did, and it was the type of match USA needs to have. I feel both matches they've had are the type of match that USA needs to have.
Yeah.
You basically know who's going to win. They're competitive enough. The second one, more competitive than I was expecting, and help get over. There's a storyline there with Markova and Genocide if they follow through with it. Hopefully they will. And I was basically happy with the show through this point, with the exception of Gags, which was just utter trash. So, it's one of those. If I was rating the show so far, I would give it 4. I would give it 4 out of 5. But because Gags have been on it, it's like 1.
So I mean, yeah, I agree with you.
Next.
This was a pretty good show until that. But the match picked up and the steam kind of started rolling again. Then you had a Joe Galley with Ricky Morton. And this is where Ricky Morton says that he's still in his prime, a poor delusional soul. Morton also says he wants his son to be bigger than himself, which I think is what every parent should say. I mean, Ricky Morton was in the right time of the industry. He was the right guy in the right place. I don't know that Kerry will ever have the same opportunities that Ricky had, but I do like the fact that he's looking out for his boy. He's looking out for his son, and his son is such a little shit. Like, I think it's gonna be like, no, my son would never do that. I just get this feeling like there's so many good storylines that can go with this. And I guys, when I say that about Kerry Morton, I say that lovingly because I think he's gonna be a great heel. I just think, like, Daddy's watching, so he's on his best behavior. Then when Dad turns his back, he's cheating in the ring. I think that's what's gonna happen.
Neat.
Do you have anything you want to add about the promo?
Do you think I listened to it?
I thought you might have. It's Rick and Morton, for crying out loud.
Exactly.
Next up, we get Caprice Coleman taking on Colby Corino in the Battle of the CCs. And man, this match was really good. I find myself really enjoying Caprice Coleman in the ring. I did not know that I would enjoy him that as much as I have been. He did a really good job his first match there against Alex Taylor, I believe. Now this is second match. His offense is very innovative. I see him doing a lot of things you don't typically see guys his size doing. And I thought it was good. Corino gets the pinfall with a foreign object, and then gets the pin with that pump handle float over whatchamacallit. I don't know what to call that move. I think it's an interesting little he gets them like in a Cobra clutch and then does like a flipping driver with it. I don't know what to call it, but it's how he gets most of his victories. I thought it was a good match. What did you think?
I mostly enjoyed it. I did not like Corino winning.
Oh,
and I certainly did not like him winning with the foreign object. And I think the thing that kind of bugged me, and I'm wondering what they'll do next week, so to speak, was Medusa, who kind of I was hoping they kind of dropped that executive producer bullshit that they had, and because they hadn't done anything really with it this season, and so she was out there, and so whatever Corino uses to load and his punch, and it's just like, I don't know. She's like, well, the referee didn't see it. Well, I saw it. So are you going to go do something about it?
yeah.
You could pull a WWE, go restart the match,
Yeah.
Or tell the official he's disqualified. I mean, I don't know. So my question is, will this feed into a storyline for next week, or will it just kind of mysteriously disappear?
That's a good question.
The sad thing is I don't know which one I want it to do.
Well, I don't know for sure how it's going to happen, what's going to happen. It's weird because, like, as I in my notes here, I have Colby Corino did double duty this week. And you see that quite a bit. Markova would wrestle a match on USA and a match on Power the same week, or Kenzie Page. And it's like, again, the continuity, the production. It's like, again, can't we be better? And I don't think they can.
Well, yeah, they
Dodie
can.
says, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, they can, but
Dodie says
they are not going to be.
Dodie says Caprice Coleman truly an NWA dark horse, and Ring of Honor only used him as an announcer all this time. And then James H. Jackson says, you need a good veteran like him that can help the up-and-comers in the ring, like Caprice, are needed in the NWA for that specific reason. And I agree. I think when you have a guy like Caprice, his skill set is obviously pretty advanced. They can use him in that enhancement role to help get guys better. We always say steel sharpens steel on this show. But he's not a jobber by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I could see a lot of good things with Caprice Coleman, too. That TV title, I swear, could help elevate so many people if they just used it a little bit more I guess with less prejudice, with more opportunities for title defenses.
Yes.
And that's the conclusion of NWA USA. Bells, whistles. We'll see you Tuesday from Joe Galley. And overall, I thought that was a pretty good episode of USA. Probably the best one I've seen this season. Again, I could have done without Gags the Gimp, but other than that, I thought it was a pretty good show, pretty good episode. And any final thoughts on that one, Mr. Mercer?
No, this type of show they need to produce for NWA USA. Get some of your talent in there. Give them a chance to get over. Feature some of the newer people. Get us a chance to see them. Get exposed to them. Again, I probably wouldn't have put Coleman over, or put Corino over Coleman. Hopefully they're making a storyline out of this, but I don't know. I hope Coleman sticks around. Part of the problem with the NWAs, you don't know from one taping to the next whether who's going to be back and who's not. So I hope he sticks around. I hope he's doing stuff for them behind the scenes. I don't know if he is or isn't, but hopefully. We know they need some people behind the scenes. He might be a good person to watch them do tape promos and go, stop. And stuff like that. So, yeah, I hope he sticks around. I hope he's working with them. And I hope Billy starts booking better. But this is the type of show that USA needs to be. I'm typically happier when they only have 2 matches, honestly.
Yeah.
And if they had just done the first 2, it would have been a good show. Gags had not been on it would have been a really good show. And and I say that in a joking manner, but I'm more serious than I am joking. Stuff like that heavily influences your take on the show.
Yeah, for sure. Our pal James says, I want to see a power light. Or maybe he says, I don't want to see a power light. I want USA to get its own feel, to getting there, but it's not there yet. And I think that kind of comes to the fact that they're just taping the same show in the same spot with the same audience. We've talked about this quite often, that, if the NWA does more of these live events, that maybe these live events should just be the USA program. And, if they're doing 2 or 3 live events every quarter, that could be your USA program.
Well,
and
let that be the power program.
What's that?
Let that be the power program.
I'm all right with that, too.
I mean, that's the one people are subscribing to.
That's a good point.
These live events with bigger crowds and, some more top matches. But, go back. If you're going to go back to the good old days, go back to the days where, a lot of times the first hour of a show was taping. And, you can put on your television main events and stuff like that, and occasionally show some of the top things, and then do your studio show for USA. There's nothing that says we have to, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want power to be anything other than what it is. No, they can change it up if it's better.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. So, liquor it up, crowds, bring it. Well, hey, I'm not going to disagree with that statement.
Another slam dunk by Luthez right there. So let's talk about episode 8, season 8, NWA Power. When the season matches the episode number, it's going to be a good one. This show opens up with a post-match comments between Aldis and Cardona, basically hyping up Alwayz Ready and the stipulation that is supposed to be announced on this episode of Power. Again, I didn't hear the stipulation. If anyone else heard that stipulation, wants to share it in the chat, please do so. But I don't think I heard it. We get a refreshing change in the booth tonight because Velvet Sky's not there. Of course, Austin Idol is. But he's joined by Tyrus. It's the first time I ever appreciated Tyrus in the NWA.
I would agree that this show, and because there's no bickering with Velvet, Idol was on better behavior. He wasn't quite as obnoxious as he normally is. I'd still rather him not be there. But, I mean, I think right now we see the opportunity. I don't know how much they pay Tyrus, so they probably want him in the ring when he can be in the ring. But I would see an opportunity to go get rid of Velvet, get rid of Storm, get rid of Idol, put Tyrus in the announce booth as a Sublime heel partner to Joe Galley Straight Man. He can do Straight Man well when he tries. So it's not always easy with when he's partnered up with people who should really do something else.
And it would be very similar to when they had Wade Barrett in that booth with Galley and how good they worked off of each other.
I would agree. And, and Barrett was heelish, but he was subtle heelish most of the time.
Yeah.
Not just outright heelish in the vein of a Jesse Ventura or Roddy Piper or, whatever. He was very, or even as he is currently in NXT. But I think they would have the opportunity to really improve their situation if they did that. If they got the TV title off Tyrus, use it the way it should be used, and then, because, let's be honest, the TV title is there to get the younger and the lower mid-card people over.
Yep.
That's its purpose. Its purpose is not to sit on a guy for a year and have him not defend the title. So,
in fact, that's the exact opposite of what that title should be for.
Yeah. Yeah, the exact opposite. And so, come on, I don't know if I'm ready for Mims to win it. I'm not opposed to Mims winning it. So, let's get it on him, and then let's get some of these people we were talking about earlier, like, Bennett. And, even if they, I could even deal with Corino being TV. I could actually deal with Corino being TV champion better than I could deal with him being junior heavyweight champion.
Interesting. Okay.
And, well, although they call it World TV title, we all know its actual ranking there in the echelon. Whereas, when you're the World Junior Heavyweight Champion, we're saying you're kind of on a level in the junior heavyweights that the heavyweight world champion's on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I'm ready for Corino to be that. Someday maybe, but not now. But a TV champion, sure.
That's reasonable.
And even with, like, we were talking about Clearwater earlier, if he doesn't maintain his current championship for a long run, Corino, Clearwater in, TV title matches, Marche Rocket,
yes,
Mims, you throw in a couple of veterans, you put Bennett in there. Taven I could kind of see, but not really. You could put Mark Briscoe in there if the Briscoes still make appearances, which I don't know if they will or not, since they hold the Impact Tag Team titles.
Yeah.
But But you could put some, you could bring somebody like Mark in for one day of the tapings, put them on 2 matches, and one of them featured for the a top contender for a TV championship and the TV championship, and help get some of these people over. I mean, I could put the title on him for a little run,
I mean, everyone that you mentioned could have a run with that title, and it wouldn't hurt anything.
No, it's meant to be a title that's held 2 to 3 months. It's meant to be a title that lets you showcase people who you don't normally think about as main event talent. It's not a mid-card title in the sense like national title. National title can be one of 2 things. You can either give it to appreciate older veterans who probably aren't world champions, but at the same time, you can give it to people who could be in world title runs, but they're currently not.
Yeah.
Or occasionally you could, shock the world by putting it on a, younger guy or whatever.
Well, but I like Jack Stane in the role as national champion.
I think he's a good person in that role.
Yeah. And I do believe, like you said, that TV title would be so much more versatile, useful, and would do its actual job of getting talent over if it was allowed to get talent over. But the only way you're going to do that is get it off of Tyrus, and they've got a perfect spot for Tyrus to show up at. So, I mean, it all makes sense if they want it to.
If they want it to. That's our great concern.
Yeah.
So what happened on this show?
Yeah, let's get to the show. So Kyle Davis brings up the Pope, and Trevor Murdoch is supposed to come out. Pope calls him out. He wants to speak to Trevor face to face, man to man. Pope tells Trevor that they are the brothers of a bond, and Trevor takes exception to the Pope invoking the name of Harley Race, although the Pope believes that Harley would slap the fire right back into Trevor Murdoch. And Pope believes that he should reclaim the 10 pounds of gold and quit messing around. This was a very good, impassioned promo by the Pope. But again, I think it's falling on deaf ears. I don't know what the plan is with Trevor Murdoch, but I don't think they're really going to legitimately put him in another title match with Matt Cardona or Nick Aldis, depending on, who wins what. But I just thought it was, I don't know, a good promo, but I don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah, it's interesting in that, they like to bring up that Murdoch's do a title match, do a title shot, but it's kind of dangerous to give it to him because then what do you do with him? Because he's not going to win the title.
There's nothing really to do with him.
And so
they painted themselves into this corner where you can't do a whole lot with them at this point.
And they got him working heel.
Yep.
Which I'm not opposed to, but then, you got Jack Stane, who's probably on the best run of his life.
Yep.
In the national thing, and you think, man, a face badass Murdoch versus heel badass Dane could get you some hell of a good matches.
Yeah.
And again, you'd have that typical difference between the barroom brawler of Trevor versus the big muscular power of Dane. And so, I mean, I think that would be very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
And I think the dynamic works better with Dane as a heel and Murdoch as a face. And so I don't know what they're doing, and I don't think they know what they're doing. and I don't mean that in the typical, like, they don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, like, I don't think they have a plan.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad. So, but of course, I always enjoy listening to Pope, so he gave his big thing, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, there's not a better promo in the NWA right now than the Pope, and he's better than everyone. and that includes Nick Aldis. He's just better, and I could definitely deal with more Pope promos. Next up, we have it was announced as a non-title match, and a lot of us assumed it was a title match, and then it became a title match. And I'm talking about the Hex, Allison Kay, Marty Bell taking on Maddie, not Maddie Radikowski, just Maddie, and Kenzie Page. Now, the thing about this one is now this is the second opportunity Kenzie Page has had at the Hex. And as we found out also that she'll be teaming up again with her original partner, Ella Envy, at the pay-per-view. That'll become now her third opportunity at the tag titles. And the pairing itself was a little strange to me. She has a tag team partner. Maddie is not it. And the dynamic there was weird too, because at the pay-per-view, Kenzie Page worked as a heel. Her and Ella Envy were in full heel mode. But since returning to Power, she's been more of a babyface again. But with teaming with Maddie on Tuesday night, again, she was reluctant to embrace that heel tactic. There was some cheating involved. Of course, Maddie introduced Aerosol into the match that gave me the gorgeous Jimmy Garvin vibes with Precious. And she used the hairspray or perfume to blind Marty Bell. It did slow her down, but did not stop her. The match was a lot more competitive than I would have guessed. And it was a very fun match considering all things. The reluctant Kenzie worked fairly well with Maddie Radikowski. Maddie tried to get Paige to use the chair. She ends up refusing, and effectively that cost them the victory, or at least the advantage. I thought this was a fine match. I don't know why they build it as non-title and then title. That whole thing seems odd to me, but other than that, I thought the match was pretty good.
I'm going back to the I don't think they know what they're doing. This time meant I don't think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird that you got this match non-title, then title, when the title match at the pay-per-view is already announced. So you don't know why Kenzie Page is in there with Maddie. You don't know why she would be. By the way, if they had won, then who would be the challenging team at the pay-per-view? Would Kenzie just have to run back and forth and team with both people? I don't know. So, maybe Jaden knows what they would do if that happened. But it's a weird situation to me. I didn't fully. It caused me not to appreciate the match probably as much as I could have.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was an okay match. I didn't think it was really good or bad, but it was an okay match, and maybe I would have appreciated it better if there had been some logic to it. I mean, it didn't even do anything to set up the tag match at the pay-per-view, so it was there inexplicably. Jaden, why do promoters do that?
It's called lazy booking. Sometimes they put in it, like, if you have an independent wrestling event, sometimes you'll put on a match because it's there for a buffer. It's what I like to call the Dave Dahl spot. It's in between two really, really important matches, so it brings the crowd down so they can appreciate both. That's traditionally, unfortunately, for a lot of women wrestlers, that was their spot for a long time, is that match right between the two important matches to kind of calm somebody down so they can get hyped again for the next big match. That seems to be a lot, unfortunately. So that's what I would guess.
And, of course, DKM stepped away for a minute, so he can't ask you a follow-up question. We'll just go to the next match, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Or actually the next segment. And that was Velvet Sky and her, I don't know if this is a new role, but a role she's very suited for is the backstage role, interviewing talent. And in this situation, I think we could all applaud this move and hope it's a more permanent move. She's there in the back with Taryn Terrell. Now, TT is quick to rub the salt in the wounds of Velvet Sky. when she says, and I'm not going to try to impersonate her, how does it feel to be one of the top announcers and now you're backstage? God, I miss Taryn Terrell. She says she has a special announcement we'll hear later in the show. I thought this was such a great way to reintroduce Taryn Terrell. And I hope we see Velvet Sky more in this role. I mean, Jaden, do you think this is an instance where the show listened to the fans, or do you think this was something that they had been planning on doing?
I had a feeling it wasn't listening to the fans. I have a feeling it was something where May wasn't available at the moment. Plus, I have a feeling, now I didn't actually watch the event, but I did read a recap on it. It's weird now, the Wrestling Observer website has been prominently featuring in the last few weeks the NWA Power and the NWA USA results, especially Power. And I was able to read about that. And based on how they're going, I'm also afraid that there's going to be a feud coming up between Velvet Sky and TT, as you call her.
Interesting. Huh. I wonder how that would play out. Like they would have talents represent them, or they actually wrestle in the ring?
Both are wrestlers. Both don't wrestle very often anymore. So I think most likely they would have a talent. Without spoiling, I know Taryn's announcement, and I think it makes a lot more sense than some of the stuff she's been doing already. It's a bigger, better fit, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I have a feeling that that's going to set up maybe either a tag match or TT managing somebody versus Velvet managing somebody.
Or, I mean, we're just speculating here. TT in her announcement in a match against maybe the Beautiful People. Maybe that's something that we'll see later down the road.
There you go. That's another thing. I would have thought immediately they would have brought in her friend that she didn't know was wrestling, even though she wrestled the week before. I thought they would have done that. That's exactly a good idea. Yeah, right. Listening to the fans. That's funny. Only listen to fans when something stupid happens, like pushing question mark or the gimp.
All right. DK, we're all big Taryn Terrell fans here. What did you think of this backstage segment? Did you like to see Velvet Sky in that role?
No.
No?
No.
All right.
I like Taryn Terrell.
I like the part where she said Taryn Terrell, DK.
What?
Give me 2 reasons why you like Taryn Terrell.
Left and right. Anyway. And she's got a cute butt. So there's 3 reasons. But anyway, Jaden just saved my life. You guys have no idea how bad I had to pee. Anyway, look, I've gotten a bad attitude when it comes to Velvet. And Velvet After Dark took any positive thoughts I might have or, excuses I might make for her or anything away. And I'm ready for Velvet to go away. And I know it's not realistic, but at this point, there instead of on the commentary desk, yes. There at all, no.
I did enjoy when Taryn said, I have a big announcement, but I'm not going to waste it on a backstage interview. Just rubbing that salt in the wounds.
Well, it's part of the reason I love Taryn.
Yeah, she's the best.
Besides left and right.
And backside.
And backside.
Next up, we have Colby Corino, who's wrestling his second match for the NWA this week, taking on AJ Cazana. Now, in other matches, we've seen Colby Corino, like with Caprice Coleman, it was very back and forth, very competitive. This was not that. Colby came out and kicked his ass. He kicked AJ Cazana's ass, kicked him right in the face at one point, and I thought that was brilliant. The match didn't last very long and was almost exclusively Colby Corino. And after working the back of Cazana, delivers that double stop from the top rope to get the 1, 2, 3. This was a jobber match as far as I'm concerned. DK, what did you think?
I was surprised that his least competitive match was against Corino.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if Steve's paying Billy something or what the deal is. Yeah, that. I mean, you knew before the bell rang who was going to win. I mean, I wasn't expecting a Matt Classic, and I wasn't expecting a surprise win, but it was just like I was expecting it to be more competitive than it was. And so it's, again, not figuring out what they're doing or why they're doing things, but they love Colby, apparently. So
Definitely over with the front office.
yeah.
I wonder how his father thinks, because if you remember ECW, which I know you guys weren't big at following ECW in your areas, but Steve Corino showed up on a Smashing Pumpkins concert and threatened to fight Billy Corgan, and I think he got a guitar smashed on his head or beat up by the Sandman or something like that. So I wonder how he feels about his least favorite bands and its lead singer now being the promoter of a son.
Wasn't their whole ROH thing that, Colby didn't like his dad?
I've met his dad. I understand why. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I didn't say people didn't understand it. I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure that was the gimmick behind their whole ROH relationship there. So,
real quick to interrupt, programming note, just went to our YouTube page. We lost a subscriber tonight, folks. We're down back to 986, back to 14 more. So somebody out there is an asshole raining on our parade tonight. But we do appreciate you, all you loyal subscribers who would never, ever unsubscribe to the greatest podcast channel on the planet. We do appreciate you. I just thought I'd point that out.
Maybe they just canceled their account.
You know what it is? I think they got banned by Google because they were doing some inappropriate behavior.
Actually, it was DK. That's why he was disappearing.
It was a quick unsubscribe, unfollow, delete. All right. The next up was Kyle backstage or at the podium with the Briscoes. Textile Kyle, if you will. And Jay and Mark still want a shot at La Rebellion. They still want a shot at those tag titles. And this is the narrative we need to hear. We don't know what's going to happen now with the Briscoes with their title win in Impact. We don't know if they're exclusive to Impact Wrestling or if they'll still be able to compete. I know they've had to call off on a bunch of shows recently because of one of the Briscoes' wives is having some issues with her pregnancy. So we probably won't see the Briscoes in a tag team match for a while. But hopefully when they do come back, they're able to challenge for those NWA tag titles. DK, your thoughts?
I mean, I'd like to see it. I don't know where they're at with Impact. I mean, they've come in and won the titles. Are they slated to be champions for a while, or are they slated to, turn them back over? And, look, I'm very biased, and I want the Briscoes to hold the NWA World Tag Team Championship.
Same.
And
I'd love them boys to be dead champs.
yeah, I mean, I don't think. I think them boys winning the tag team championship is a bigger thing than Cardona holding the NWA World title. I mean, probably the only thing the NWA would do that would be bigger was when they put the title on Cody for 40 days. Or 50 or however long it was.
About 40.
Because that was, Cody was at the height of being Cody outside of WWE at that moment.
Yeah.
And so, and everybody wanted to see him and put the pictures up of him and his dad with the NWA belt. I did too.
Yeah.
Two of those. And I, you know, I don't know that you can match that anytime soon, but the biggest thing you can do now as far as putting a tag team in there is going to be them boys. I think, to me, it's bigger than even FTR.
I wouldn't go that far.
I said to me, I'm not even going this personal, but I think, and part of it is FTR is finally being used right by AEW, but for so long they weren't. They sure as hell weren't used right by WWE.
No.
But when you think of legendary tag teams, if you know anything more than AEW and WWE, the Briscoes have got to be, on your list and probably near the top. That are active. Let me say that. They're currently active, and currently you wouldn't mind seeing them win the title as opposed to another Rock and Roll Express reign. So yeah, I really, really, really want them to win the NWA titles.
No, I agree.
I might put posters back up in my room if they win the NWA title. I might get posters of them with the belts.
I agree. No, they should be tag team champions right now. I don't care about them being GCW tag team champions. It's cool that they're Impact tag team champions, but they need to be the NWA World Tag Team Champions. That's a major accomplishment that not only is important for the NWA, and I'd love to see a continuous feud between them and La Rebellion and them and the British Invasion or the pseudo British Invasion. And
Commonwealth connection.
Yeah, there's the British Invasion. That's basically what it is. And they just didn't want to get sued. And then, if there's any other good tag teams that aren't there, tag team wrestling should be what the NWA focus on. Here, this Billy, don't break teams up. Don't have them have personal issues against each other. Nobody wants that crap. They want personal issues against other tag teams. So have the Briscoes have personal issues against Matt Bennett and his partner. Have him get personal issues against the La Rebellion. Have them personal issues against Harry Smith and Doug Williams, and have real tag team wrestling. Have that spotlighted because it's the only chance you guys have of something to be better than everybody else. Impact's pretty much got the best women's division right now when it comes to the non-WWE. AEW's got all the big stars, and they keep signing them and then sending them onto the YouTube channel. MLW's got some of the future talent with this, has a lot of chance to being major names, but they're not sharing them with anybody right now, except for maybe a few of them at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. So this is your chance. You want to have a tag team division, you can have the top tag team division and don't have to worry about any 40-year-old Cookie Monga kids and basically backyard cheerleaders ruining it.
Amen. Pass the ammunition.
Our buddy James says Meltzer says Briscoes are not signed to any Impact, same as Honor No More guys. They are all on per appearance deals. That's wild to me that they put the tag titles on the Briscoes and they're only on a per appearance deal.
They did it with Mickie James in the women's title.
Fair. Next up, we have Team War. This is like the fourth incarnation we've had of Team War. The first one was incentivized by having the championship clause. The second version of Team War was incentivized by having a $30,000 cash prize. The third installment of Team War was at the pay-per-view pre-show, and now the fourth installment, was no reward whatsoever. You had the Ill Begotten, which was our boy Jeremiah Plunkett teaming with Alex Taylor and Rush Freeman, taking on Jax Dane, Odinson, and Amparo. And the third team would be Gold Rush, which was Black G's, Jordan Clearwater, and Marche Rocket. Jax looks extremely dominant in this thing to start the match off. Jeremiah Plunkett looked better than I've seen him in a long time, and I mean that in the most positive sense. And Marche looked pretty good in this one, too. I'm not going to go over everything that happened, but we will announce the order of elimination. So Jeez was eliminated by Jax Dane. Jax was eliminated by Marche. Odinson was eliminated by Marche. Marche was eliminated by Taylor. Taylor was eliminated by Paro. Clearwater was eliminated by Paro. And Freeman was eliminated by Paro. So the winners of the match would be The End, Odinson, Jax Dane, and Paro. I really feel like they were trying to get some heat on Paro with this one. I'm still not convinced he's the guy that I thought he was initially. DK, what did you think of this match?
I'm getting tired of the concept. That was my first thought. Overall, it wasn't bad for what it was. Never got just real into it. Dane versus G's was, ooh, yeah. Anyway,
I like the pin when he did it, crossed his arms and just laid on him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and
could you tell that G's was going to lose? He's infamously known for boo-boo facing when he's losing a match, especially if he's getting beat handily. Could you look at him and just verbally, just can tell by his body language that he was getting his ass kicked?
I'll be honest. I didn't recognize that. I didn't see it, but maybe I'm not familiar enough with Black G's to know that. I mean,
get his ass kicked.
Say that again.
I was just seeing him get his ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he had enough time to have a boo-boo face. Jax kind of just beat the shit out of him. But, I mean, realistically, you got a guy who is very much limited to what he can do in the ring compared to a guy like Jax Dane. I mean, what could G's have done to really, in real life or in pro wrestling, do to hurt Jax Dane?
Watch AEW when they had Marco Stunt, or when they use what's his name, the orange guy. But anyway, yeah. So that's the type of bad stuff that people do. So I'll give Billy or whoever produced this match credit. You put G's in with someone like Jax Dane. Jax Dane's going to kick his ass. Jax Dane did kick his ass, and that's what we needed. And so
I like that. That what's his name defeated Marche defeated. Yeah, he's the one that pinned Jax, because isn't he the one that's being built up for the championship match?
Well, see, with the rules for Team War are kind of like weird, right? So you can eliminate somebody by throwing them over the top, or by pinning them, or getting them to submit. So he didn't exactly pin Jax. He eliminated him by drop kicking him where Jax went over the top rope. But yeah, they did have a storyline, a feud there over the national title. So there was a kind of a continuation of that.
Yeah, but then it should have. I don't think Paro should have been the one. I think it should have been Odinson in that spot. He's got the biggest upside.
Yeah,
I know Paro is Billy's boy, and that's probably why. But I mean, again, Paro used to be damn good. And if you watch the All Japan version of The End, it's not the End you're getting now. It's so right now, if that way, Paro is the weakest link out of the three. I understand why Dane was out first. Stop yawning, Jay. You're making me yawn.
Sorry.
Anyway, sorry. But it should have been Odinson that got the big push at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they didn't because they'd already done that. I mean, I can literally see that being their logic.
But I think, in essence, that would make it better, because then he could kind of proclaim himself as the king of Team War. And each time that comes up, he comes out there and dominates, and they're like, hey, we got to do something with him because he's so dominant in this matchup. I think that's you're making the case, I think, for it to be more often.
Yeah, if it happens. Yeah, DK.
I was just going to say, you know, I'd be all for Odinson dominating, but one, I think, you know, I don't find them to be logical. So I think one hand, their thought process may have been, well, we've already done that, so let's get somebody else to do it. And then I could also see them going, well, wow, people loved Odinson when he dominated everything. So maybe we can pick up Paro, you know, raise his stock by having him dominate everybody. You know, the sequel's never as good as the original.
Except for The Godfather.
and the second Godzilla Kong, but, you know, that was a remake, I guess.
That was a remake, yeah. By the way, they're giving a sequel to that remake. I'm very excited.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. They announced Kong versus Godzilla 2. The Electric Boogaloo or whatever. What was that?
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
I hope not. But not the Boogaloo. Cool. Well, I'm excited now. I have to go research that.
They're going to call it the Thriller.
So, Jay, what happened after this Team War thing of Mabob that...
I forgot to use the graphics tonight. What happened next was, of course, things happened. Like Velvet Sky was in the back with Father James Mitchell and Gags the Gimp. And for some reason, Angelina Love decided to join this debacle. And basically, Father James Mitchell explains how he secured the services of Gags the Gimp, what I can only describe as another dumb segment, another waste of time, another thing that insulted my intelligence as a fan of the product, something that I think most fans probably just hung their head and said, what the fuck am I watching? Because this is goddamn shit. And if I have to keep watching this, then I'm going to stop paying for it and just watch it for free on YouTube because this is awful.
Yeah,
How do you really feel,
nothing to add.
What's that?
How do you really feel?
Yeah, that's how I really feel.
And I said there's nothing to add, so
no, there
we can
isn't.
move on as far as I'm concerned.
It's stupid. Each and every week, I try to look for the most positive things about this damn show. And for a lot of it, it's getting better. There's a lot of good things. We could talk about these great matches, but do I need to hear Father James Mitchell describing what Gags the Gimp does for him? I don't. And the famous words of the Ultimate Warrior, what is, and whatever you're into, I don't give a. I just thought this was a waste of time. Gags the Gimp doesn't need character development. James Mitchell doesn't need more camera time. This is the shit that I just don't want in any wrestling.
And the DKM rant for tonight was provided by Jay Cal.
Hey, look. Perfect timing there, Jay.
Yeah. So that brings us to something that was actually good. And that's going to be the Mickie James main event against Natalia Markova. And the big announcement that Taryn was going to have is that she's actually managing Natalia Markova. And that was a cute, odd series of movements there where Taryn was trying to mimic what Markova was doing. It was fun. It was cute. And when the action started, this was a great match. Mickie James is a legend. I'm not going to take anything away from her. I don't know that I need her to hold the Burke in order to create her legitimacy. She's far well established. I don't think she ever needs to hold the Burke and still will be every much the great women's wrestler she is. But you put her in the ring with somebody like Natalia Markova, who, let's be honest, doesn't have the same pedigree that Mickie James has built for herself, the same resume, if you will. But she's damn good. And you have this match where Markova is being a Markova. She didn't shrivel in the spotlight. She looked great. And this match with Mickie James was a lot of fun. Taryn Terrell did not get involved, but did add to the match by being Taryn Terrell. I loved it. I thought this was probably one of the best matches of Power this year. If they do a compilation of the best matches of Power, this will be on my list.
Well, I didn't love it that much.
Fair enough.
I did really enjoy it, though. I mean, I will say, and little weirded out by Terrell's ponytails, pigtails, whatever, dog ears, whatever the heck they're called, and stuff. But outside of that, it was a good match. And part of what made it a good match was the fact that she didn't interfere.
Yes.
And, we were able to see two talented people. I think that this was probably the best opportunity for us to see what Markova can actually do. She hasn't been obviously she hasn't been in the ring with anybody at Mickie James level, but she hasn't even been in the ring with anybody at half of Mickie James level. And so it was a good chance to showcase her, even with James winning, which I'm going to say James should have won. I don't think that this is something where Markova should have gotten upset. I think James should have won. And this was the match to showcase what Markova could do in the ring with a talented wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't something she needed to win. It was just something she needed to look good at, and she did. And so, I mean, I think they accomplished the goal. I think it sets sets a new bar for Markova. I think something that makes her a more serious challenger to Camille if they ever decide to pull that trigger in a serious way.
Yeah.
And, overall, I thought both shows were good. I don't have any major complaints, with the exception of, and if you guys don't know what it is by now, forget it. And, those were my only major complaints on the thing. It was a good show in the announcements, even with Idol. Tyrus is just, he seems to be made for that role. I suppose some of it's his, Fox. It's not Fox News. I forget what he's on. The Fox Finance Channel, something like that. And he performs well. Get the TV title off him. Put him there. Put Idol back to managing where we don't really hear him. Leave Velvet in the back. But not too much because I prefer May. And few more matches like these. I don't think there was anything that was terrible on the show. There was certainly nothing that made me want to puke. And take care of that one issue, and you put on some pretty good shows. I will say, Jay, as I have a question for you as the father of daughters. When you got both the tag team champions and Markova and Terrell showing, more booty than a strip club, I have mixed feelings about that. As a male, I enjoy it. As a wrestling fan, I think sometimes it can be a little bit distracting. And again, we're talking about something that's portraying itself as a family friendly. I don't know. Do you want your daughter seeing women with half their ass hanging out?
So, in a perfect world, this isn't an issue, right? Because
it's not a perfect world. So.
Athletic garments that are more in line with being, an athletic apparel than a bikini or something. However, my wife wears a bikini quite a bit and shows a lot more than what you can see in a wrestling match. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. If we go to the beach, we're going to see women dressed with less clothing than what you would see in these wrestling matches. So I don't want people to look at women wrestling and fetishize it and turn it into just hey, she's hot, that's why I watch it, or this is sexy. I mean, you could like a woman wrestler, you could think that they're attractive, and you could, absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. But
So you were opposed to total
to you more so
to the Divas era.
Art of professional wrestling. I think that's a problem, and I don't want to encourage that kind of behavior. For the exact reason, like you said, I don't want a young child looking at this and thinking like, well, it's got to be over sexualized. If I'm watching this, I'm seeing things that maybe are not appropriate for my eyes to see. But like I said, if we go to the beach, there's going to be women wearing bathing suits that show less or show more than what these women are wearing in the ring. So there is a fine line. I don't know where that line is. I'll tell you that I would have been embarrassed if my daughters had seen what was on the TV, because they were treated as athletes and not as objects. They were treated as performers, not as eye candy. But like I said, there is a fine line that you're walking. It is hard to kind of work that out. I grew up in the Attitude Era of the WWE. I remember, Sable coming out with handprints covering her top and thinking, wow, that's hot. But at the same time, looking back now, I certainly would be weird if my kids walked in while I was watching that.
Can I say something?
You sure can.
Women's volleyball has a lot more revealing outfits, and it's very, very popular with women. Apparently, it's 5 times more popular with men, but that's a different story. And those girls see way worse on TikTok. I mean, you should look at Buckets for Rent After Dark with J. Cal's TikTok X-rated OnlyFans account. You should see a lot worse. But seriously, the girls on TikTok show a lot more skin than any of the girls in this thing do. Even booty.
Crop tops.
Is that what you use the buckets for?
That's how I crop my tops.
Yeah.
Back in my day, a crop top was when you beheaded somebody. But anyway.
There you go.
And look, I'm not making a moral judgment here. I don't. But since we were talking about, like the gags, the GIMP, which is something, it's just, in our sometimes host Kevin Frazier has made comments about how, like, every time his wife walked in, it was with the booty patrol.
And look, that could be very awkward. Like, Kevin pointed out that is a weird situation to be in. And as a married man myself, if I'm watching it and, Taryn Terrell's wearing what she's wearing, I don't want my wife to think I'm watching adult entertainment. But at the same time, I think we all understand that the woman body, no matter what size or shape, is beautiful and is not disgusting or anything like that. But it gets hard when that outfit is very revealing. What's that?
That's the problem. It gets hard.
Shit.
Nailed it. DK with the stiff comment. Got a lot of balls to say that one.
Yes, I did.
But he's got the stroke to get away with it.
Well, okay, we've killed the show again. And Chad departed. So, then you'll be back in a minute. All right, he's back. Maybe. Are you back, Jay?
I'm mostly back.
All right. So
talk about hard times.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not really trying to make a big moral thing out of it. I'm just curious where people fall. I mean, I do have an issue with the name knockouts for the Impact Championship, but it's just one of those things that I get curious about, especially for somebody in your position, like I said, as father of young females. And
Mother's Day weekend, I efforted to take my two oldest daughters to a all women's wrestling show. Wow, Women of Wrestling Heroes, whatever it's called. Because a good friend of mine, Ray's, was wrestling, and my eldest daughter adores Ray's. So we were going to go watch Ray's wrestle. However, due to the venue size and the amount of people that showed up, we just didn't get in. Now, I know all of those women there wrestling would be wearing similar outfits to the Hex, to Kenzie Page, to Mickey James, to Natalia Markova. You wouldn't have seen much different. That show is built towards a family environment and women empowerment, something that the NWA is also efforting to do under Mickey James. So for me, I feel safer about this program, and of course the program that they were taping in Los Angeles, Women of Wrestling, because I don't think they're trying to undermine the message of women empowerment. Now, when you turn on WWE, as of late, it feels a lot better, but I mean, just a few years ago, the bra and panty matches, like, I don't think there's room for that in pro wrestling today. I don't think you want to objectify your talent in any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, you look at the women and what they're wearing, and then you have Jordan Clearwater come out in a robe and do his little Rick Rude dance. I mean, it's not a whole lot different. It's just a man versus a woman. The objectification isn't really there. It's more of a showcase. And if the person that's doing it doesn't feel dirty or wrong doing it, then I don't feel like we as the audience should feel weird for watching it.
I don't know. Every time Dango's out there, I feel dirty. Like I need to take a shower. Really,
that's different.
Shower, really.
Yeah, the NWA is really good at empowering women, just like they did with Velvet After Dark.
Yeah. Okay. So there are exceptions to the rule. But I think that's gonna do it for us, guys. Again, we do appreciate y'all being a part of this family, this community, this show. Of course, we hope to do some more fun stuff down the road. We are at 987 subscribers. Whoever you are, you came back, and we appreciate you for doing that. We're going to wrap things up. I know, DKM, how could folks follow you on the socials?
At DKM FWTX. I think that's basically me everywhere.
Okay.
How do you spell that?
GOTOHE.
Double hockey sticks.
Exactly.
The way you said double hockey sticks made me laugh.
I was thinking of Radar from MASH, which again shows my age.
Jaden, I know that there is an event coming up at the end of next month in beautiful Glassboro, New Jersey, featuring the stars and talents of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators and Dave Dahl. Could you tell us about that?
It's Saturday night, June 25th, at the Max Fit Sports Center, located at 240 Delsey Drive South in beautiful uptown rustic Glassboro, New Jersey. Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators presents the All-American Bash. Now, I do have a little announcement. There was originally going to be an I Quit match between Nikos Ricos and Ty Thomas. Nikos Ricos, over the last week, has been saying some really derogatory comments toward Ty Thomas and his wife and his young child, saying some really rude and inappropriate things. Now, I know he was doing it to get into Ty's head, and I could tell it was happening. Because of the comments that he made and the things that he stated in the statements that he made, Dr. Zirconium has suspended Nikos Ricos, so he will not be part of this. He's actually getting fined and suspended, so he will not be part of this. I know Ty wants his revenge, but we're kind of afraid he might seriously hurt him, and that could be a litigation issue we don't want to get into. So to let things cool down, there's been a gag order. Nikos Ricos is no longer allowed to say any of those things. If he does, he will continue to get fined.
Is there a GIMP order?
Yes, there's always a GIMP order, and that stay away from dog. We're real pro wrestling. But so It won't be happening, but there will be a pseudo opponent for Ty Thomas to be part of this, so he can have a chance to showcase what he does. There's a lot of fans of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators who come to see Ty Thomas in action. But there will be the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship match as the new champion, Glassboro's own Eric Martin, takes on former champion Ray Jazz. There will be a Four Corners elimination match to crown new Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Tag Team Champions. The Old School Empire and Primal Fear are two of the tag teams announced. You'll also see the return, in a way, of Dark JTG. I'm sorry. I think JTG is actually a wrestler on NWA.
Yes.
Dark. Yeah, it's JTG.
You don't remember a wrestler for years.
For some reason, I felt that it wasn't right because JTG, but it is Dark JTG. Jason Gibkey. Gibkey is a wrestler who's been former Dog Tag Team Champion 2-time, and now he's making his singles, not his singles debut, but his singles debut as Dark JTG, and he's lost a few marbles. He reminds me a little bit of Chance Prophet in his Insanity. And he's going to be wrestling. This is an announcement that's never been heard before. He's going to be going after the WWGP Championship against Chris Steeler on June 25th. So you hear it first. The Alliance-Wrestling.com and the Alliance guys get the scoops going on. It won't even be announced yet on the YouTube or anything else. You're going to hear it first at the Alliance Guys Radio. I'm probably not supposed to say something to Dr. Zakum's probably going to be pissed, but he's mad at me anyway. Not like Kikuchi, who apparently hates me.
You saw that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Kikuchi is unfortunately what happens when first cousins have kids. He's a reason that they should bring back Roe versus Wade, because he's the reason abortion should be legal.
Well, you were worried about what I had to say.
Oh, you guys give me a live mic. This is your own damn fault.
Well, anything else you'd like to
Yeah, check out dogprowrestling.com. That's DAWG. Make sure you add us on YouTube. I'd like all 996 of you guys to come add to the Dog YouTube station also, YouTube channel. And you get to see some great professional wrestling and Daredevil Dave Dahl.
And as we just FYI, guys, Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, promotion that's near and dear to my heart. We've had many of their talents on our shows over the years. Their close affiliation with the NWA in the past netted us a lot of great content in the past. So I do encourage you to either be like Dave Scooby and go to those shows live or watch them on their YouTube channel, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. But we're going to call it a night, gentlemen and ladies. And until next time, we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. for NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.